So today I'm going to be reading the next part of Adolphus Tips by Michael Monpago, and it's so exciting because next time I read it it's going to be the last time before Christmas, which is exciting because I really like Christmas. I'm so happy and fun. It's already Christmas now anyway, but it's going to be Christmas Day on that day, Wednesday, sorry. I can't wait. So yeah, it's exciting. We're past halfway, so I'm guessing there's going to be another 3 after this one. It's exciting. Wednesday, January the 12th, 1944. This is the first time I felt like writing in my diary for days. Mum was right. I did catch a chill. And that day, when we all went out looking for tips. That day, and it did go to my chest. Mum told me I had a temperature of 104 for nearly a week, and the doctor had to be called because I was becoming delirious. That sounds like I was just happy. I certainly was not. It meant I was out of my head, and I must have been, because I remember very little. I only remember bits of the last few days. I remember Barry coming in after school and telling me that the new school in Kingsbridge was like and giving me get well cards from Mrs. Blomfeld in the class. I remember waking up to see Grandfather and Mum sitting in the chair watching me, or just sitting there sleeping, and from time to time I could hear the murmur of voices downstairs and Uncle George blowing his nose like a foghorn. I'm much better now, but Mum says I've got to stay inside for at least another week. Doctor's orders, she says. But I think they're just her orders. She always gets very fierce and strict with me when I'm ill. She's been feeding me soup and then sitting and watching me just to make sure I finish it. She makes me eat stewed apple every day, and I have to drink lots of warm milk with honey in it. She knows I hate milk, but now she got the perfect excuse to make me drink it. It'll build up your strength, Lily, she says. Drink it. And she always stays until I do. As for tips, there's still no sign of her. No one has given up. No one has been back to look for her, of course, but I haven't given up. I still keep hoping she's all right, that one day she'll come and find us. She's a good hunter. She can take care of herself. She knows warm places to go. I try to hope and believe Addy will find her somehow. But then, when I think about it again, I know he won't. I kept thinking of her lying dead in some ditch. I try not to think about that. I try so hard. Soon as I'm better, I'm going to look for her. I promised myself I would, and I will. Mum came up today and read me a letter from Dad. It's such a long time since I saw him. I find it difficult to see his face in my head anymore. I tried to hear his voice as she was reading the letter, but I couldn't. He says they have had corned beef and tinned potatoes for Christmas lunch, and they wore paper hats made out of newspaper, sang Christmas carols and thought of home. He sounded so sad and far away. When Mum finished reading, She was sad too. I could tell she wanted to cry, but she wouldn't let herself. I've been planning it for days. Sorry. I need to show you the picture. It's so bad. Wednesday, January the 19th, 1944. I've been planning it for days, working it all out and screwing up my courage to do it. And today I did it, but it didn't work out like I had planned. I'm getting really good at telling lies. I told Mum I just wanted to go out for some fresh air, that I was fed up of being cooped up. I nagged and nagged, and finally Mum gave in. But only because I was nice. But only because it was a nice, sunshiny day, she said. She wrapped me up as if I was going out into the Arctic. Gloves, hat, scarf, coat, the lot. And she told me to keep out of the wind. And I had to promise her I'd be back inside an hour. And she told me to keep the wind, and I'd be back inside an hour. I promised, with my fingers crossed. It wasn't that difficult to get through the wire. There was no one about to see me. I just wriggled my way through and made off across the field towards home, keeping behind the hedges so that I was always out of sight of Uncle George's house. Home looked so empty and deserted when I got there. No hens scratching anywhere, no geese on the pond. I called for tips as loudly as I dared. I looked in all the places I thought she might be in hiding. The granary, the shipping, the milking parlour, the piggery. Then I remembered that one of Tip's favourite sleeping places was always in the hay barn. I walked through the abandoned farmyard and was climbing up the ladder into the hay loft when I heard voices outside the barn. It sounded like there were two of them, and they were American. That was when I felt a sneeze coming on, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. I couldn't help myself. I don't think I've ever sneezed so loudly in my life. I couldn't think what else to do. I lay down in the hayloft and pulled the hay over me so I was completely covered, and tried to stop myself breathing. I heard them coming into the barn, heard them as they came up the ladder. There's a little foot sticking out of the hay, and Addie there. Then there was silence for a few moments. I was thinking I might just have got away with it, when suddenly I was grabbed by my wellies and yanked out. There was Addie and Harry staring down at me. "Lily! Well, I'll be damned," Addie said, pushing back his helmet. "Look what we got ourselves here." Harry: "Now, if I ain't mistook, Lily, you come looking for your cat. That right?" I nodded. "What you want to do that for? Didn't I tell you?" "What you want to do that for? Didn't I tell you we'd find her? Didn't I? Ain't you got no faith?" His whole face suddenly became very serious. "You got to promise me something," he said. "You got to promise me you won't never come near this place again. You do what I say, Lily, or you're going to get yourself in real trouble. You're going to get yourself hurt bad, real bad. You hear me? Ain't worth it. Not for a cat, it ain't. Soon enough, this here is going to be a mighty dangerous place to be. You're going to stay out here. promise me now. He was really angry at me, so I promised. They helped me down the ladder, and together we ran through the farmyard, passing the farmhouse and out over the fields to the perimeter wire, Addie holding my hand the whole way. I squeezed through. "Don't you never come inside the wire again," Addie said. "You just stay where you is, Lily. And don't you go worrying yourself. We'll find that old cat of yours for you. And that's a faithful promise, ain't it, Harry?" Faithful there. Sorry. "Faithful promise," said Harry. Then they walked away, and I watched them go until I couldn't see them anymore. Mum met me at the door. She had her coat on. She was just coming out to look for me. "Look at the state of you," she said, and began brushing all the hay off my coat. "Where have you been?" "In the barn," I told her. And that wasn't a lie, was it? It's been such a supreme day, even though I didn't find tips. I should be sad, but I'm not. I kept living it all again and again in my head, every exciting moment of it. I shan't sleep tonight. I know I shan't. Monday, January the 24th, 1944. Back at school. Everyone else has been back for a long time, of course, and so they all knew each other and I didn't. All my friends from the village school already had lots of new friends from Kingsbridge School who I'd never seen before, and no one seemed that pleased to see me. I would have felt a bit out of it if Barry hadn't stuck by me like he did. He showed me around too, showed me where to line up, where to hang my coat. I felt a bit strange. A townie showing me around. But I don't think of Barry as a townie anymore. Not really. He kept telling everyone about tips, and about how I'd been ill. So, as a result, everyone was very nice to me in the end. I'm going to make a promise to myself. From now on, I'm never going to be nasty to Barry again, even when I get irritated. He was really kind to me today in playtime. Someone mistook him for my brother, and I didn't mind at all. In fact, I quite liked it, so I didn't say he wasn't. I'm in Mrs. Blomfield's class, which is supreme. We had a lesson about America, about all the states, which are the stars of the flag, and she told us they've got a president instead of a king. She says it's this huge place, miles bigger than England, with great big lakes as big as England, with great high mountains called the Rockies, and they've got prairies and deserts and canyons too. She didn't say what canyons were. She told us they'd play baseball, not cricket, and how lots of different kinds of people live there from all over the world. How they all went there to find a place to live, to find freedom and to make a new kind of country, and how now they've come all the way back across the Atlantic to help us win the war against Hitler. I'd like to go there one day. I'm going to ask Addy more about it when I see him again. I'll ask him about what a canyon is too. At tea time, Uncle George came in stamping his boots and told us it was snowing really hard outside. It was too. The sky was full of great heavy flakes that landed on my face and made me close my eyes. When I looked up, I caught them on my tongue and let them melt. Then I thought of Tips out there in the cold and dark, and I started crying. I couldn't help myself. I called and called for her until Mum heard me and fetched me in. She was angry with me for going out until she saw I'd been crying. Then she was nice again. She put me in a hot bath to warm me through, which was lovely, and made me drink a glass of hot milk with honey, which was not lovely at all. It was disgusting. Why can't cows make something nice instead, like lemonade, for instance? I thought of something. If the snow keeps falling like this, if it doesn't melt, then there'd be footprints, won't there? Maybe tomorrow I could find Tips' paw prints, and if I did, I could follow them and find her. P.S. I've just woken up. Mum's got up and gone milking already. I'm looking out of the window as I write. It's early morning and still quite dark, only it's white all around because of the snow. It looks new and fresh, like the world's just been made. I can see Mum walking towards the milking parlour, leaving her footprints behind her across the farmyard. She's blowing on her hands. I can see her breathe in the air. I've thought of something else. If Tips leaves her prints in the snow, then I'll leave mine, won't I? And if I leave mine, then someone could find them going through the wire and following me. No good. I'll have to think of some other way. Back to sleep. I'm tired. P.P.S. I've woken up again. My computer is so annoying. P.P.S. I've woken up again. I just had this dream about Tips. What's more, it was a dream that came true in a way. I want to write it down now, before I forget it. I dreamt she came looking for us through the snow, that she found her way in through the kitchen window, ran up the stairs, pushed open the door and jumped on my bed, and was purring in my ear. When I woke up just now, I was happy because my dream had come true. I could feel the warmth against my face. She was back. She was purring in my ear. But then I woke up properly, and it wasn't her at all. It was Uncle George's tomcat. He's still here, and he's looking up at me. Of his wide yellow eyes, I wish they were Tips' eyes. Uncle George's cat wants me to love him, but I can't. Maybe Tips isn't even going to come back. For the first time I'm beginning to think that perhaps she's gone forever. I mustn't think that. I mustn't. Once the snow's gone, I'm going to go and look again and again until I find her. She's got to be alive. She's just got to be. And if she is alive, she'll be looking for food, won't she? Stupid, why didn't I think of that before? I'll pinch some food from the larder leftovers. No one will notice, not if I don't take much, not if I'm careful. I'll put it out for her in the hay barn back home. Then I'll watch and wait for her. She'll be hungry. She'll come. She'll come. She's got to come. She must. Oh, she's so silly. Sorry. Thursday, February 10th, 1944. I must have been in and out through the wire looking for Tips half a dozen times or more now. Every time the food I'd put out for her was gone, but I was never there when she came for it. I was so sure that sooner or later I'd be lucky and she'd come while I was there, while I was waiting for her. Then today the very worst happened. I went off as usual after tea when everyone else was feeding up the animals. No one was about as usual. The food I put out in the barn yesterday had gone, so I put down some more and then waited up in the hayloft, hoping and hoping this time she'd come while I was there. That was when the dog came running into the barn, a huge Alsatian as big as a wolf. He went straight for the food and snuffled it up. He knew exactly where it was. It was him. It was the dog who'd been taking it all along. Maybe I moved. Maybe he smelt me. I don't know. All I know is that he looked up and began barking at me. Teeth bared, he hackled up, his whole body shaking. Then there were sounds of voices and running feet, and the American soldiers came. There she is, there. And then the dog and the soldiers there. They were looking up at me and pointing their rifles and shouting at me to come down. They couldn't see me, but they knew I was up there all right. They kept shouting and saying they were going to shoot unless I came down, so I did. I was hoping Addie would be there, or Harry, but it wasn't them. All their faces were white. The dog looked as if it was going to eat me, so I waited halfway up the ladder till they caught him and held him. One of them said, "Holy cow, it's a kid!" And then they walked me outside and bundled me into the back of a jeep. I kept telling them I was a friend of Addie's, but they didn't seem to make them any kinder towards me. They weren't rough with me, but they weren't exactly nice to me either. They said they were taking me to see the captain, that I was in real trouble. Next thing I knew, I was being marched into this room, and there was this captain with a bald head sitting behind a desk looking at me and asking me all sorts of questions like what's my name, what my name was, what I was doing there, and where did I live. So I told him, and he shook his head and said, "Didn't I know I could have..." So I told him, and he shook his head and said, "Didn't I know..." And said, "Didn't I know I could have got myself killed?" I said no. Then he got angry at me, banged the table and told me I was never to go through the wire again. And did I understand? I said I did. I just wanted to find Tips. And he said who was Tips, and I said he was my cat. Then he says, "Jesus Christ Almighty," which he shouldn't have said, because you're not supposed to say things like that unless you're praying, that is. Then he bawled out a command of some kind, and in came another soldier and saluted. It was Addie. So was I glad to see him. They say you know this kid, soldier. That right? The captain asked. "Yes, sir," said Addie, standing very stiffly beside me and not looking at me, pleased to see me. And not looking at all pleased to see me. She was just playing around, Captain, like kids do. She didn't mean no harm by it. Addie was told to take me home, to tell my mother and make sure it didn't happen again. "Yes, sir, Captain," said Addie and saluted again. I smiled at Addie, and he took me out to thank him for coming to my rescue. I smiled up at Addie as he took me out to thank him for coming to my rescue. He didn't smile back at all. He walked me silently into the jeep and drove me all the way back home without a single word. He turned off the engine by the farm gate, out of sight of the house. "You're some crazy girl, you know that," he said. He lit up a cigarette and his face glowed in the dark, and I could see now that he was really angry with me. "Here's what I'm going to do, Lily," he said. "I'm not going to tell you, Mama, about what you've done. If you promise me you won't do this no more. But you got to promise me. Promise like you mean it." "I promise," I told him, but I didn't mean it. "Now you listen to me real good. I've been looking. Harry's been looking. We're gonna find that cat for you. Didn't I tell you? Didn't I say? But if you go snooping about, I'm telling you, either you gonna get yourself blown to bits, or they're gonna catch you again. I'm serious here. We got patrols in there all day, every day. They'll catch you, Lily. Ain't no way they won't. Ain't no way I can save your hide next time. You told me I could go, so I got out of the jeep." He told me I could go, so I got out of the jeep. He looked at me for a moment as I stood there and shook his head, just like my little sister's you is. Trouble, nothing but trouble, and stubborn as a mule. I know you were trouble moment. I known you were trouble moment I saw you. You do what Addy says now. You be good, you hear?" Then he drove off and left me there. I think Addy knows I'm not going to be good. He knows I'm going to go back in to look for tips, and I am too, because now I know for sure what's been stopping Tips from coming out of hiding and eating my food. That American guard dog. That Alsatian, the dog. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to wake up early. I'll wait till Mum goes off to the milking. No one will see me, will they? It'll still be dark in the early morning, so I should be safe enough if I don't take too long. And Tips always likes going out hunting when it's dark. She's probably hiding up somewhere by day, scared stiff till the guard dog. Don't blame her. That's probably why I haven't been able to find her all this time, but I'll find her now. She'll come out in the dark. I know she will. I'll find you, Tips, I promise. I will. I so want to tell someone everything that happened to me today. I think Barry's the only person I could tell. No one else would believe me. Maybe I'll tell him tomorrow. That's it, guys. We have heard so much. I think we just have a third to go, which is exciting. I can't wait to find out what's gonna happen. Some exciting pictures. You guys have to come next time, because I think there's going to be some exciting stuff happening. So make sure you watch that. The previous episodes will be in the description and at the start of the video, so you can watch them. And I think there should be a video coming up soon. I don't know what it is though yet. Bye guys. Oh no. Oh, that's a spicy one. Definitely cinnamon. Oh. So spicy. Well, I definitely know that one was right because it's cinnamon.